Om Tyageshwaram Ramakrishnan Saradam Matrarupinim Vivekanandam Acharyam Natva Vakshami Shraddhaya Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacha Malam Sharirasya Cha Bhaishajena Yopakarottam Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim Pranjaliranatosmi. In our last class we discussed that Sutra Klesha Mulaha Karmashayaha Drishta Adrishta Janma Vedaniyaha. The law of karma and the role of kleshas in what we experience in life, that is what is explained here. Karmashaya, we discussed, it is a repository, so to say, a collection of subliminal impressions, samskaras. See, every action we perform, whether it is physical or mental, it leaves an impression. Every action leaves an impression. That impression is called samskara. The action is over, whether it is a thought or an action, it is over, but it has left an impression, a mark on the mind, that is called samskara. Now these actions can either be klishta or aklishta. Kleshta means those which have been prompted by kleshas, by drives. So actions performed under the influence of attachment, attraction, hatred, fear, whatever. Those are called klishta actions or actions, klishta karmas, actions performed under the influence of kleshas. And then there are aklishta actions, aklishta karmas which are performed without being under the influence of these drives. See, actions of devotion, performed in a spirit of devotion or in a sense of pure sense of duty or out of compassion, a purely altruistic motive. Those actions, they are aklishta karmas. Those are actions which are not performed under the influence of these kleshas. Both these actions leave their marks, leave their subliminal impressions. Karmashaya is collection of such samskaras which are left by klishta karmas, by such actions which are performed with kleshas. So actions which are performed with kleshas, with attachment, hatred, fear, they leave their impression. And collection of these impressions, collection of those samskaras is called karmashaya. That's how we can understand karmashaya. It's a collection of samskaras left by klishta karmas or left by actions performed with drives, with kleshas. And hence the Bhashaka, the Sutra says, klesha mulaha karmashaya. This karmashaya is formed because of the kleshas. Kleshas are the mula, the source, the cause of this karmashaya. Because actions which are not performed under the influence of kleshas, their samskaras do not form a part of karmashaya. So klesha mulaha karmashaya. Actions performed with kleshas give rise to karmashaya. And then it said, drishta drishta janma vedaniya. These actions which we have performed under the influence of kleshas will have their results. We'll have to experience their results. Vedaniya, it is to be experienced. The results are to be experienced either in drishta janma, that is this life, or adrishta janma, in the next life. So certain actions will have to bear the consequences in this life itself. Certain actions will have to bear consequences in the adrishta janma, future life. So extremely virtuous or vicious actions performed with a lot of intensity, their results will come in the very life itself in which they are performed. Other actions will have to wait for the next life. So that was the sutra that we discussed in our last life. The point to note is, every samskara left by these klishta karmas, by actions performed with kleshas, that samskara actually is a package, so to say. It has the record of that action that we performed, whether it is mental or physical. That record is there. It also embodies, or klesha is embedded in that samskara, in that subliminal impression. The klesha with which that particular action was performed, that klesha is also embedded in that samskara. And to it is attached papa and punya, merit and demerit, that was accrued as a result of those actions. So that is another law, that only klishta karmas will attract papa or punya. See, only when actions are performed with kleshas, they will cause or create punya papa. Aklishta karmas, they will not create punya papa. They will be cause for purification of the mind. So actions which are performed without being under the influence of raga dvesha, they do not attract merit or demerit. But these klishta karmas, actions performed under the influence of kleshas, they attract merit or demerit. So that merit and demerit is also, so to say, linked or embedded in that samskara. So the samskaras which form karmashayas, or samskara which are a part of karmashayas, those samskaras will have record of actions. They will have the klesha, which under influence of which those actions were performed, that klesha embedded in them, and it will also have association with punya. So there are three components, so to say, in these samskaras which go to form karmashaya. The record of the actions, the klesha which prompted that action, and the accrued merit or demerit. All three are there. And so that has to be experienced either in this life or next life, and it is caused because of the klesha. So klesha mulaha and drishta janma vedaniya, and that was the sutra. We just began the explanation of the next sutra, which, so to say, further elaborates this particular concept, when the sutra is sati mule tad vipako jatyayur bhogaha. That is the sutra. Sati mule tad vipako jatyayur bhogaha. The last is a compound, jati ayuhu bhogaha. Three words are there. Jati ayuhu bhogaha. So again a new word is introduced here, which is vipaka. Vipaka, tad vipaka. Vipaka means fruition, bearing fruit or bearing consequences, bearing results. And tad here refers to karmashaya. So karmashayasya vipaka, the fruition of the karmashaya. That's what the second word means, or second or third word means. Tad vipaka. Sati mule tad vipako karmashayasya vipaka. To understand this, we can think of it like this, that this sutra is explaining, so to say, or stating the position or the fact of, or the state of being at the time of death. At the time of death, what happens to a soul? That is what is being described in this sutra. There will be fruition of this karmashaya at the time of death. This karmashaya, which is ready for fruition, will achieve fruition in three ways: jati, ayu, and bhog. So this karmashaya which has been gathered, which is ready for fruition, ready to give its results, will finally give results when this body is left in three ways. What are those? Jati, ayur, and bhoga. Jati is the species in which the soul will be born after death. As I said, this is explaining the state of soul at the time of death, or what happens at the time of death. So at the time of death, this karmashaya which is ready for bearing fruit ready for fruition, will give its results in three forms. One is the jati, that soul, which kind of species that soul will be born. Whether it will take up a divine body, body of angels, gods, humans, subhumans, whatever. That will be decided by karmashaya. Then ayur, what will be the span of life in that body, in that species. Ayur, the span of life, lifespan, that will be decided by karmashaya. And bhogaha, the experiences, that also will be decided by karmashaya. So these three are decided by past actions through karmashaya. Past actions give rise to karmashaya, and that karmashaya, which is ready for fruition at the time of death, will decide what life, what kind of body we will get, what would be the lifespan, how many years we will live, and what kind of experiences we will have. All these things will be decided by that karmashaya which is ready for fruition at the time of death. But there is one condition, so to say. The first two words define that condition. It says sati mule. Sati mule tad vipako jatyayur bhoga. So karmashaya will attain fruition in the form of jati ayur bhoga only when mula is present. Sati mule, that is the condition. What is this mula? We saw in the earlier sutra, klesha mula karmashaya. So when kleshas are present, or kleshas being present, then only this karmashaya will fructify in the form of jati, ayur and bhoga. If you reverse it, if there are no kleshas, the karmashaya will not bear the results. That's what it means. When kleshas are present, karmashaya will bear the result in the form of another birth, its lifespan, its experiences. But if kleshas are not present, karmashaya is important. It cannot bear the results, and that's what happens in the case of Jivan Mukti. That is why we need to get rid of these kleshas. In the case of Jivan Mukta, the kleshas have been reduced to burned seed state, dagda bija avastha. As a result, karmashaya becomes inoperative. It cannot produce another birth for a Jivan Mukta because kleshas are absent. Only when kleshas are present in that chitta, then only karmashaya will bear fruit. In the case of Jivan Mukta, because of the prasankhana, that knowledge we saw earlier, how that dhyana heyas tadvrittaya, the attenuated kleshas are to be reduced to dagda bija avastha through meditation leading up to prasankhana. So through prasankhana, through knowledge, when these kleshas have been reduced to the dagdha avastha, that is burned seed state, then karmashaya has no potency to bear result, to fructify, and hence Jivan Mukta has no birth. That is how Jivan Mukta's birth is offset, or that's why we say that that is the last birth. For a Jivan Mukta, it is the last birth. Why? Because no kleshas. Kleshas have been burnt. So you see these kleshas, and that's why they are called kleshas actually. They harm us in so many ways, you see. First, they don't allow us to meditate. These drives, they drive us nuts, so to say. These drives, they drive us nuts, so we can't meditate. Secondly, they are the cause of gathering the karmashaya. Only such actions which are performed with kleshas, their samskaras become karmashaya, which has to be experienced in future. So these kleshas, they are responsible for creation of karmashaya. And these kleshas are also responsible for fruition of karmashaya. If karmashaya has to achieve fruition, kleshas are necessary. So that's why perhaps they are called kleshas. In every way, they are a source of afflictions. Because every birth and all that is an affliction. Samsara is an affliction. That we will see in the next few sutras. How every experience is an affliction for a yogi. So that is why they are called kleshas. They are the source, cause of accumulation of karmashaya, and they are also, their presence is the cause for its fruition. That is the role of the kleshas in this whole law of karma, so to say. Now, we saw that this karmashaya gives rise to 3 types of effects. Jati, Ayur, Bhoga. That is the general rule. But we have also seen some of these karmas, they are very potent, very powerful. We saw Drishta Janma Vedaniya is there. So, certain karmas which are going to have fruition in this life itself. Now, they cannot give 3 types of results because species is already decided. Suppose a person performs extremely virtuous actions. That person's life, species, jati, is already decided. He or she is not going to be transformed into some other species as a result of that karmashaya. But bhoga will be there. Because of that extremely virtuous actions, that person may get happiness and pleasure in this life. Or if that person has performed vicious actions, that person may get miserable or painful experiences, or that person's lifespan may increase or decrease. So, this karmashaya, the threefold fruition, is not a very hard and fast rule. Sometimes the fruition is only of one aspect, like bhoga or ayur. Jati always is when after the death. But what is the Drishta Janma Vedaniya, such karma which is to be experienced in this life itself, it fructifies only in 1 or 2 forms by altering the span of life or the experiences. So that's very interesting. What we understand from this is when we are born in a specific, at a particular species, as all of us are human beings, all right. We are born with a capital, so to say, of a lifespan and life experiences. That depends on our karma and the karmashaya that was ready for fruition at the time of assuming the body. So we got a lease of life, so to say, certain years and certain experiences of happiness and misery, all that, it's a capital. We started our life with that. But through our actions, we can change things. Because it says it is Drishta Janma Vedaniya. Karmashaya or karmashaya is Drishta Janma Vedaniya. So we can change whatever experiences we are going to have in this life by our actions in this life itself. It is not, so to say, predestined. Everything is not predestined. We have the capacity to change experiences in this life itself. See, people, if they lead if someone leads an extremely unhealthy lifestyle, that person is going to shorten his or her lifestyle. That karma need not be actually Shastriya karma attracting papa and punya. Even worldly actions, they have their effects because it's also an action. So, if a person lives an extremely unhealthy lifestyle, it will shorten his or her lifespan, which was given to that soul at the beginning. But he kind of shortened it, he or she, by its own actions. So the actions of this life also have effects on the lifespan as also the life experience. See, Holy Mother says that the offset of bad karma can be, the bad karma can be offset by good karma. So this is what this Yoga Sutra is also telling, there is drishta janma vedaniya karma. So such actions which are very virtuous, they will have their results in this life itself. And if at all we want to have a better life or whatever, there is scope. It is not that everything is predestined. Yes, left to ourselves or left to nature, it is predestined. We are born with certain capital, as we said, but it is not a hard and fast rule. We have the capacity to change it. That's the point. About this karma and its effect and its theory, there is a lot of discussion. The commentator itself lists 4 alternatives. He says, how do you say, like, whether one karma will generate many births or one karma will generate one birth. There is a Sanskrit saying which says that if you kill an animal, that sin will cause you 1,000 births. Now here it clearly states that one karma is causing many births. Or it could be that one karma causes only one birth. It could be that many karmas cause one birth, or many karmas cause many births. There are 4 alternatives. How many births and how many karmas? Based on that, there are 4 alternatives. And Bhashyakara Vyasa Maharshi examines each of these options. A lot of discussion has happened on this matter in the Bhashya and the sub-commentaries and all that. But the final conclusion is many karmas define one birth. That is the final conclusion. It is not that one karma defines one birth. It is not that one karma defines many births. Nor is it that many karmas define many births. All the 3 have been refuted. The accepted conclusion is many karmas define one birth. So he says that at the time of death, when the soul is leaving this body and taking another body, all the karmas, all the accumulated karmashaya that is ready for fruition, in a simultaneous jolt, so to say, eka praghattakena, he says, the resultant force, you can use the word resultant force, the resultant force of all those karmas, that will cause one single birth. That's the accepted theory. At the time of death, whatever karma is ready for fruition, the resultant force of those many karmas will cause one single birth. And of course, this species in which that karma is to be experienced and the lifespan and experiences, all that. But this is the accepted rule that many karmas together will give rise to one birth. That is accepted. And as I said, there is a lot of discussion about this karma. There is mukhya karma, there is subsidiary work, and there is niyata vipaka, karma which will fructify in a specified time, or aniyata vipaka, karma which doesn't have any specific time for its fruition, and all that. As I said, there is a lot of discussion on that. But the accepted rule is this: all the karma that is ready for fruition at the time of death, together, many karmas, as a resultant force, will cause one birth. That is how this law of karma defines. And then again, in that birth, that person, if it is human birth, that person will have the scope to again increase or decrease whatever its own lifespan and its experiences, as we discussed earlier. We will see in our next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.